Hello.
Hey, hey, hey.
Good evening. Actually, like for once, we're all in the same time zone, right? Almost, right?
I think so.
I
Germany,
think we're
Belgium.
all in a straight line. For once, we can say good evening without, offending anyone.
Yes, exactly that.
Jo- Joey, I want to say you're in Antwerp, but I'm not sure.
No, I'm in between Antwerp and Aalst. It's called
Okay,
in between Antwerp and Ghent. It's called Aalst.
nice. It's more like a flat triangle. We are 120 degrees apart.
Almost, almost. Right, let's wait for Uri and then we can get started.
Did he find something in the agenda?
He added the last point. What if we were to write an alternative GraphQL.js from scratch?
Ooh, wow, it's a spicy one. Oh yes, 3 minutes ago. Did we ping him already?
Let me ping him on Slack. Right, I pinged Uri. Awesome. All right, looks like we're all here. By being here, we all agree to the participation guidelines, the membership agreement, and the code of conduct of the GraphQL working group and foundation. Let's all introduce ourselves in order of the attendees in the agenda. Hey, my name is Jovi.
I'm Martin. I think Uri, you're next.
Oh, hi, I'm Oli from the group.
Hi, my PR to add myself to the agenda is still open. I'm Lance.
Hi, I'm Jakob. Also have to add myself.
Awesome. I don't think we have AI notes for this meeting, so let's take collaborative notes. And let's go over the agenda points. I think, Martin, you're up first with the next V16 release.
Okay, yeah, I was just curious about this because the spec is ahead of the reference implementation. Two things I have in mind is first one is operation descriptions, which I think, Jovi, you made a PR for, and that PR is merged. And the second one is PR number 4493, which is about schema coordinates. This one here, which is opened, and I'm wondering if there's anything blocking it from being merged. We can't hear you, Jovi.
It's been a long day. I forget the mute button. Approvals mainly. Well, just having a second pair of eyes would be fun.
How does that work? Do we have? Oh, we have GraphQL.js reviewers. Who is in there? Should we ping specific people? Martijn, Tito, Yakov, and two other members. Or is it like the spec and we need ESC approval?
Last time I took Lens's approval, who's not in that group, and I just waited a week because, well, there wasn't any other review coming. So just having a second pair of eyes would be nice.
I can definitely do a review, but I mean, this is not my main language. TypeScript is not my main language, so I wouldn't trust my own review. I can probably catch a bunch of things, but yeah, adding more people is certainly the way to go. Are you in the list of GraphQL.js reviewers, Lens?
I'm not on there.
Okay. Is it a code owner thing?
Even I'm not on there. So
Does it even make sense to have this?
I think it's an older part of the repo. I'm not sure whether this list is updated. Yeah, I'm not sure how it works. It was before I joined, at least.
If it were up to date, it would be very useful, I think.
I think so as well. That's a good action item. Let's extract that.
Yeah, Benji definitely has the credentials to do that.
Right. I'll extract that into an issue after the meeting. Anything else on the release?
No, thank you for opening that, by the way. I didn't say it first, but I should have led with that. It's really cool to have this in a 16 branch. And the last thing I wanted to mention is now that we have GraphQL Conf behind us, I would love to move forward on the error handling stuff and nullability stuff, which is currently blocked by the capabilities stuff. So it's Pierre. Is it a Pierre? Oh yeah, I linked in the agenda pull request number 4364, which is about on error and error handling. But what we really need is capabilities. So I might try to get something in GraphQL.js for that. And I was curious about the timeline for the release because if possible, I would have loved to have something soonish, like maybe for the next main working group. But given that capabilities is like there's nothing yet, I don't think I can do it fast. So probably worth doing a release without waiting for that. And I'm saying this as the one that doesn't make the releases, so I don't know. I'm not taking a lot of, I don't have any input there, but it's basically a question for you, Yakov. I think, did you have any plans for when the next release is? Like, can we do one quickly just to get in synchronization with the spec, and another one in like, I don't know, 2, 3, maybe 1 month, something like this with capabilities? Does that sound feasible? If you are here, Yakov, I'm not sure you can hear us. Can someone else do the releases?
I think generally speaking, releases are cheap. So
Okay.
it's a 10-minute process max. So I'd say we can do one soon-ish, and then when the capability / on error stuff lands, we could do another.
Very cool.
Sorry, I didn't hear the earlier discussion, but I heard my name mentioned, and I definitely agree with that last comment. Sorry, I was out of pocket.
No, it was about releases this, but if the process is simple, looks like we are going to review the schema coordinates and make a release just after that to keep in sync with the spec, and then we'll do a release later with capabilities and whatever else is on the roadmap.
Yep. That sounds great.
Which is probably a good segue to the next item, which is should we rewrite GraphQL.js and then we don't need releases at all? Should I give you the mic, Uri?
Yeah, no, that's not the intent of the point. So it started from Mattel reached out to me and we discussed like they have Mercurius and we maintain Yoga. And now it seems like there's again active and a great team at Apollo server, Apollo.js, let's say, and it's really great. And I think we gathered throughout the years a bunch of things that we really wanted to change, but there were more core, I don't know if core, but like just things that we wanted to change in the repo, in the way the code is written. And previously, previously of the current leadership of GraphQL.js, which I wanted to say really thank you for Jovi and Jakob for taking over and doing really amazing jobs, really much better job than what we had before on managing the project. Previously, it was hard to do things. And now I still think there's a tension between the fact that GraphQL.js is a reference implementation and the fact that like all of us are having production GraphQL frameworks based on that code. And you know, we always talked about it, we always said it, and there were also a lot of specific things that we were referencing and wanting. And we discussed that like maybe now it's a good time to start. The idea is not to rewrite GraphQL.js. The idea is to have another library, which like we started. I'll be very open. Like we started doing that at Yoga a couple of years ago. We basically took GraphQL.js, we forked it, and we had our own version of GraphQL.js inside Yoga because we wanted to use things, we wanted to change things. We didn't want to wait for all kinds of stuff. Sorry, I'm supposed to go ahead. But from all the conversations that I had recently, it feels like what we want to do are the same things that Apollo server want to do and the same things that Mercurius want to do. So it sounds like all of us want to do those things. All of us can agree on these things, probably more or less. And the main reason that we're not doing it is the current structure and the fact that like GraphQL.js is currently a reference implementation. Now, I think how it actually like hurts the community, this current structure, is that I think in a natural process, the way to put things into the spec is that you try them out, first of all, in production with your user in your company. You learn what works, you learn what's not. Once after like many people tried it and you nailed something and you feel like this is ready, then you bring it out to the spec, then you bring it out to the reference implementation. Today, it feels like we're doing it the other way around. Someone has an idea, they bring it to the spec, there's long discussions there. There's no discussions on open PR on GraphQL.js. Like what we see on the previous point, like someone wants to try it, but it's still in a PR. There's a release, there's not a release. I think what we want, and it looks like in GraphQL Java or in the .NET GraphQL world, they do already use a lot of things we want to use, but because they don't have a reference implementation, they have an actual production ready implementation. So they could, switch certain parts out, try new things in, experiment, come up with good opinions, and then bring that to the working group. So Matteo said that he will write it will create a doc of like all kinds of ideas and thoughts that he had throughout the years. I'm sure that everyone here has a long list of things that they also have. So I wonder, what do you think about that in general? How do you think we should go about it? Where should we start? Where should we do it? I still think it can be outside the foundation, but it could be inside, just like not necessarily a reference implementation. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, let's.
I do have one concern, and that is that we have a package that's called GraphQL, and that package has like a ginormous ecosystem depending on it. And if we create a second package, that doesn't mean that the second package is being shipped, but that both packages are being shipped in parallel. And there's essentially no way around that. So from that feeling, it feels to me like whatever we do, it would need to be inside of the GraphQL package. And I could think of something like using exports conditions to have both implementations in the same thing, maybe even the same function names, but completely different implementations. And a bundler could choose between the two, or like a node import condition statement could choose between the two. But having two completely different packages would run the risk that you always ship both, and you're never sure which one of the two is actually invoked, and you can't really pass things from one to another. So that's just a concern that I have.
I think that's a very valid concern, but from my point of view, having it in the GraphQL org could be an issue because we'd have two implementations. Just the GraphQL org and this confusion aside, I support this idea wholeheartedly. And I mean, we've kind of done it for GraphQL.web to have a partial implementation of GraphQL.js that is just, I think at the moment, 40x more performant. It's the reference implementation optimizes for things that we probably don't want to see in the wild. It is not performant. It only exposes features that are discussed and spec'd out. It kind of holds up. Well, it's not on par with the progress that we make in a spec even. So I personally think it's a really good idea, but we have to thoroughly think through Lens's concerns.
On that, I'm not saying that it wouldn't even need to necessarily live in the org. It could also be an option to swap out the package name, that the next major version that's published is the production-ready new library, GraphQL 17 or 18 or whatever it will be, and that the current GraphQL package would move over to add GraphQL/reference implementation or something like that. I just really want to point like the package name GraphQL is extremely important for the whole ecosystem, and introducing something in parallel to that has problems. Like I'd love to do it, but I see a lot of problems coming with it.
I'm not, I'm not sure I follow all the concern. Is fragmentation the concern?
No, shipping both. Like you have like 20 dependencies that reference one package, and you have 20 dependencies that reference the other package, and then you have to ship both implementations. On the server, it hurts less, even though it hurts. But in the browser, you would like add twice the bundle size of the package if you just like have one dependency that hasn't swapped over. And this kind of swapping over is something that in the NPM ecosystem we see as like probably never happening.
So for everything, there is just one implementation that people use, like no competition.
There is the one that Jovi maintains, but it's hard for us. Like we couldn't add it as a dependency, because then our users would likely ship that one and GraphQL.js, and not only that one, because they probably have like 100 other dependencies that depend on GraphQL.js. So in the case of Apollo Client, we couldn't just make that switch. And like every other library has that same problem. Nobody can just make that switch unless everybody else does it at the same moment, and that doesn't happen.
Yeah, okay, I see.
So like repurposing the package name would be way more pragmatic for that, probably.
Thanks.
Yeah, I agree. It's a problem. I think there are some benefits to the fact that like right here together, let's say with Matteo, we are the vast majority of people that are actively maintaining GraphQL and JavaScript libraries. So like if we have a consensus around like something like that, and and we are aware of the issues, I feel like we can think about all kinds of different solutions. I don't think so. I don't know what they are now. I don't want to say and decide what they are, but like it's definitely a valid concern, and we can take one of the processes will be like take some example apps both on the back end and on the front end, and seeing like where are the dependencies actually coming and identifying all those different places in the ecosystem. My guess is like Apollo, the Guild, Mercurius, and others. We can cover a lot of ground. And I would also say, in general, the fact that like, in order to, let's say, to use the GraphQL client, you have to use the same, like, that we're all bounded together under this GraphQL. Even if we'll update GraphQL now to the newest thing that we now really want, but we still are all using the same and are bound together to use the same thing is also a bad thing. So one of the things that I think that if we will rewrite it, we will maybe modularize it much more, right? So you can take just the parse and just execute and switch those things. And yeah, like I don't want the goal to just be like a newer, better GraphQL package. Like maybe it's actually like a number of packages that it's much easier to replace, and you don't need to like now, and they're less tangled together, and yeah, like a more vibrant ecosystem, something like that.
Jakob, you had your hand up.
Yeah, I can say on the back end, so yeah, I guess on the back end, there's a bunch of libraries that we maintain that like we would love to like gradually switch certain parts from using GraphQL to like individual smaller modules. Cogen would also be a great user of that as well. Yeah. Yeah, in terms of maintenance, it will be more complicated, but it will be a lot of smaller issues that right. So when a user, I think it will, like, one thing is that if in yoga we want to solve something, we can solve it on a specific module, update just that particular module on our specific implementation. We don't have to wait for Apollo to do that, or to to Mercurius to do that. I think it's like at the end of the day, I think the goal is not to have a new project and it will be amazing, is to solve user issues. And I feel like it will be much easier for each one of us to react to those and then learn from each other than to wait for everyone to agree and then do something. Right, it's like right now we I love collaborating with everyone, but I don't want to be forced for it. And right now it's like we're all tied together in this unnatural bond that actually makes collaborating harder in a weird way.
Martin?
How possible is it for this new library to be a superset of GraphQL.js? So plain new functionality, and then you can substitute. Is that a thing? Like you can just replace with a bunch of rules GraphQL.js with a new thing? Is that an option?
GraphQL currently, as GraphQL.js is built, isn't very modular. So that is something you'd run into. But in theory, you could replace top-level functions, like just replace execute, or just replace parse, or just replace print.
But I mean, instead of having two implementations, like if some project relies on GraphQL.js and new GraphQL.js, like when you bundle everything, like you just overwrite completely the old GraphQL and replace it with the new one. If the functions have the same signatures and everything, could that work? And then you have only one in your bundle?
Potentially, but we have to be careful about, let's say in our hypothetical better GraphQL implementation, we call everything as an array resolver. Like we have to maintain some of these details, even though it could be better to have automatic data loader. It wouldn't correspond to the original implementation and constrain us.
Yeah, it's coupling at the end of the day, I guess. Yep.
Yeah, I think I wouldn't mind for this purpose to be tied to other frameworks just to get us into this new state, right? I don't mind, let's say, to coordinate, let's say, Yoga's next major version with Apollo server's next major version. And then now there's also, let's say, I think Node, I wonder when Node 22 will be the latest LTS, probably in a couple of months. And, maybe we could, as we write this thing, we can make some decision based on the fact that, let's say, everyone can use ESM, right? So stuff like that. And then we can kind of coordinate the releasing of this thing together with, let's say, major versions of Apollo Server, Yoga, and Mercurius. And yeah, I also understand that on the back end, it's easier than on the front end. But also there, maybe we can take some example applications and customers we have and just figure out how we can do the transition in a way that works for them.
We have a question from Yakov who says, what are the actual features that are blocked by the current GraphQL.js design?
Yeah, so sorry, I'm in and out. I apologize. I'm aware
And
of
with that, we're
custom implementation. As
looking.
far as I recognize, this is.
Sorry, Jakob, can you speak again? You are cutting off. I guess I'll address the question that Jakob wrote. Like, I think there's a bunch of things, and that's also maybe where I want to start. Like, we don't need to just implement it. I think maybe just having a doc or a GitHub issue or something where we write all the ideas that we had throughout the years would be a good starting point. And then maybe, maybe like we could say, hey, those are things that we can actually do on top of GraphQL.js, and that's it. That's a definitely valid angle that we could take. But like I was thinking, maybe let's. I have, I think, at least in 20 different places, 100 different ideas that I took throughout the years of things that I would do if I would rewrite it. I'm exaggerating the numbers, but like I have a lot of lists. So I just want to dump it somewhere, and I'm sure others have that as well. And yeah, and I think it will just one idea, for example, is just the fact that we talked about the fact that it's modular. Like we can experiment with many different execution algorithms much easily, while not swiping out the whole library.
But isn't that already possible? I mean, in particular by your library envelope, meaning.
Yeah, that's also how we've done it. That specific thing we've done before, but we still rely on GraphQL.js. There's still many other things that we couldn't do, and also envelope today is just like a yoga thing, like.
Going a bit broader than just features that couldn't be implemented by GraphQL.js. Like one of the main issues I see is that, for example, GraphQL does not have an opinion on how you execute fields. If anyone wants to experiment with a different execution algorithm, as per my prior example, all resolvers are executed as lists, then GraphQL.js does not deem that possible. Similar, like Benji's GraphFast. So I'd encourage, like, for the sake of experimentation, not for the sake of replacing a reference implementation, that people chase experimentation. That is the only way we're going to push through spec editions. Like, speaking kind of selfishly, fragment arguments has been stuck for years. So
I want to add to that also, like one of the things that I'm thinking about it's a signal, right? Right now we're signaling for many years that GraphQL.js is the way to go into production. And then internally we're like, no. So I think one of the things that might happen is that we will actually create an implementation that we believe is something that like all of us can agree with, or even if we can't agree on anything, we can agree on certain modules, and then each framework can choose their own modules, can experiment with their own things, and then we can, one of the things that I'm really wanting to do at the end of this is to publish a GraphQL version. Let's say that the new library is not GraphQL, theoretically, then publish a new GraphQL version that says, this is a reference implementation, don't use in production. And that's, I think, an important signal to the community, because I think all of us here knows how to take this thing into production and survive. But like a lot of people probably don't. So yeah.
yeah, there's definitely a few foot guns of taking GraphQL.js into production. But yeah, I fully agree with that. We should have production ready libraries that push you on the good path security wise from the get-go.
Uri, could you write all your ideas in one or multiple issues, maybe? Maybe we need a label or something like this.
Yeah, so that was like my question: where to start? I would. So we can start in a GitHub issue. I think it's the most natural place. I was thinking, or just like a Google Doc where we can like more fast like put ideas in, but maybe we can do both. Like I can open a GitHub issue, brain dump stuff, and link to another Google Doc that we can switch and then bring everything back to the GitHub issue. Yeah, and I wanted to suggest that it shouldn't be a different working group. Like the fact that all like this is the GraphQL.js, so JavaScript in GraphQL working group. So everything, not just the library specifically working group, but basically everything JavaScript and GraphQL working group. And we could use that to push forward that work and to collaborate on.
All right. If nobody else has anything.
Who's taking the action item to talk to Benji about the GraphQL.js reviewer?
I'll take that on then. I'll create the issue and assign it to myself. All right. If that's everything, it was fun seeing you all again, and hope to see you again. Nice day, everyone.
Thank you all.
Bye.
See you.
Thank you. Bye.